My sister Alina had always been the kind of person who believed the world should bend for her. Growing up, she wasn't just the oldest. She was the queen, and everyone in the family, somehow, fell into line behind her. I didn't mind it much when we were kids, but as adults, her expectations grew heavier, sharper, and wrapped in a strange kind of entitlement that exhausted me more than I ever admitted. So when her message arrived that Thursday evening, it didn't feel like a simple text. It felt like the final straw laid on a stack of unspoken resentment. If you're not going to babysit 4 kids, then don't even come. 7 words, sharp enough to cut through years of patience. I stared at the screen, the glow reflecting on my hands as if the phone itself were judging me for hesitating. I could already imagine her tone, the dramatic sigh she always used, the way she'd roll her eyes and claim she was so overwhelmed, the way the rest of the family would shake their heads at me if I refused her. Because that had always been my role, the reliable sibling, the one who showed up when no one else did, the one who canceled plans to keep her life from collapsing. I told myself I was being helpful. I told myself this was what family did. But deep inside, I knew the truth. I had become her backup plan, not her brother. My chest tightened as memories surfaced. The birthday dinner I missed because she desperately needed someone to watch her kids. The job interview I postponed because she forgot it was her husband's late shift. The countless nights I spent cleaning her living room while she slept, too stressed to notice. And every time, she thanked me with a rushed apology or a tired smile, never realizing how much of my life I had put aside for hers. But this message, this wasn't a request, this wasn't even disguised as a favor, this was an order. For a moment, I typed out my usual response, the predictable "okay, I'll be there." My thumb hovered over the send button out of habit, but something inside me shifted, something deep and long, suppressed finally rose to the surface. No, not this time. I deleted the message. Then, with a calmness that surprised even me, I typed, "Then I won't come." My heart hammered as I sent it, as if I had stepped off a cliff. But instead of fear, I felt lighter, as though years of carrying her expectations had finally slipped off my shoulders. I didn't know what would happen next. I only knew this. For the first time in my life, I had chosen myself. Saturday morning arrived with an unfamiliar calm. Usually, on days when Alina hosted her big family events, my stomach twisted with the pressure of being her unofficial babysitter. I would wake up early, rush through my routine, and mentally prepare myself for an entire day of running after her 4 children while she entertained guests like some perfect hostess. But today, I wasn't going. I lay in bed longer than usual, listening to the quiet hum of the ceiling fan. No frantic messages, no early morning demands, no guilt-laced reminders. For once, the silence felt like freedom. I brewed coffee slowly, savoring the smell. I cooked breakfast for myself, a luxury I often didn't have, when social obligations pulled me out of my home before I was ready. With every passing minute, I felt layers of old pressure peeling away. Around noon, my phone buzzed. "Where are you?" I didn't reply. 20 minutes later, "You're joking, right?" Then, "Hello?" I placed my phone screen down on the table and continued sipping my coffee, though my hands trembled slightly. Even choosing not to respond felt like rebellion. A small, hesitant part of me wondered if I was being cruel. Another part, one that had lived in the background for years, kept whispering, "You're finally protecting yourself." By 1 p.m. the calls started. 1 missed call, then 3, then 5. I pictured her house unraveling without me there. The kids fighting over toys, someone spilling juice on the carpet, guests arriving early while Alina scrambled to fix her makeup. All the little things I usually handled so she could pretend everything was perfect. A thin blade of guilt pressed into me. But then I remembered all the times she didn't think twice before dumping responsibility onto me, without a shred of concern for my own plans. This was her mess to manage, not mine. By 2:30 p.m., the family group chat exploded. "Mom, where is your brother, Alina? Alina, ask him. He abandoned us today." Aunt Sana, again fighting. Every event you too. I muted the chat before the inevitable drama could drag me back in. Instead of replying, I went outside for a walk. The cool air felt like an embrace I hadn't known I needed. I listened to birds breathe deeply, and took in the simple fact that the world didn't collapse when I didn't rush to fix things. My absence was louder than any argument I could have made, and while I knew a storm was brewing, something inside me stood steady for the first time in years. Today, I chose peace over obligation. Today, I didn't show up, and that decision changed everything. The silence didn't last long. By the evening, my phone buzzed again, another call from Alina. I almost ignored it, but something in me knew that running from the conversation wouldn't fix anything. So I took a deep breath and answered. Her voice hit me instantly, sharp, exhausted, trembling with anger. "Why would you do this to me today? Do you have any idea how hard it was? I was drowning here." I closed my eyes, the weight of her words pressing against old wounds. "Elena, you told me not to come if I wasn't babysitting your kids. That was obviously a joke," she snapped. "You know how I talk. You know I'm always stressed, right?" I said quietly. "You're always stressed, and somehow that always becomes my responsibility." That caught her off guard. For a moment she went still. What's that supposed to mean? It felt like a dam inside me cracked open. "All my life you expected me to drop everything for you. No matter what I had planned, no matter how tired I was. You never asked, you demanded. And if I hesitated, you acted like I was the selfish one." "That's not fair," she muttered, defensive. "I only ask because I trust you." "No," I said, "you ask because you rely on me more than you should. Because you know I'll always say yes. Because it's easier to guilt me than to manage things on your own." Silence. I could hear her breathing unevenly, like she was processing words she never expected to hear from me. "You could have just told me you didn't want to help today," she said softly. "I have told you," I whispered, "over and over, but you only listen when it benefits you, when you need something." My voice shook not with anger, but with years of bottled hurt. "I missed job opportunities, outings with friends, and pieces of my own life because you needed me. Yet the moment I set a boundary, suddenly I'm the villain." She didn't respond. In the background, I heard one of her kids crying, another yelling. For the first time, she didn't yell for me to help. She muttered, "I didn't know you felt this way." "That's the problem," I said gently. "You never asked." The family group chat pinged again. My mother blaming me, an aunt defending me, cousins watching the drama like a silent audience. But for once, the noise didn't affect me. This wasn't about them. This was between me and the sister, who never realized she was breaking me piece by piece. And now she finally heard the truth no one wanted to hear. In the days that followed our conversation, something in my life felt strangely lighter, like a tight knot that had finally begun to loosen. For the first time in years, I woke up without the pressure of someone else's expectations resting on my shoulders. No urgent calls, no emotional manipulation, no silent obligation. It felt like freedom. Alina didn't message me much that week. The silence between us was unusual, almost eerie. She wasn't angry, not anymore. She wasn't demanding either. She was quiet, and part of me wondered if she was finally seeing the truth I had carried alone for so long. 2 weeks later, she texted me again. "Can we talk? No pressure, no babysitting, just talk." I stared at the message, half expecting a hidden agenda. But something about the way she wrote it, simple, soft, made me agree. When I arrived at her house, it was different. The kids weren't screaming. The living room wasn't a battlefield of toys. And Alina didn't greet me with a list of things she needed done. Instead, she opened the door and gave a small, almost fragile smile. "Hey," she said. "Thanks for coming." I nodded. "Hey." We sat at the dining table, the same one where I had folded laundry, fed her children, and held her household together more times than I could count. But today, I wasn't there to fix anything. I hired a part-time helper, she said, almost shyly, and I'm trying to do more myself. I didn't realize how much I put on you. Her voice cracked slightly, like the truth tasted uncomfortable in her mouth. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I really am." Hearing her say it didn't erase the years of exhaustion, but it softened something inside me. Not forgiveness, not fully, but understanding. "It's okay," I said, "but things have to change. I can help sometimes, but not at the cost of my own life." She nodded quickly. I know I won't ask you like that again." There was a sincerity in her eyes I hadn't seen in a long time. Maybe ever. Later, her kids ran to me, laughing, hugging, pulling me toward their toys. I played with them for a while, but this time, it wasn't an expectation. It was a choice I controlled. As I headed home, I realized something important. My revenge was never about hurting her back. It wasn't about leaving her to struggle or proving a point. My revenge was living better, living freely, living without guilt. And in the quiet of that evening, as the sun dipped behind the rooftops, I felt a peace I had been chasing for years. My sweetest revenge was finally choosing myself.